Imagine planting 2 hydrangeas on the very same weekend. Same variety, same garden center, same soil, same rain, same care. A few months later, one plant has become a full, sturdy shrub covered in large blooms that keep coming from midsummer into autumn. The other is smaller, floppy, and disappointing, with pale flowers and weak stems that bend after the first rain. Same plant. Same garden. Completely different results. The difference comes down to 7 simple things the stronger hydrangea received that the weaker one did not. These are the quiet habits that can make a hydrangea grow faster, fuller, and more vigorous, and they are not the usual advice you hear everywhere. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what season you're in. I read every single comment. And stay with me for trick number 4. It may look harsh at first, almost like you're damaging the plant, but it is actually one of the most powerful ways to encourage strong hydrangea growth. Trick 1. It's not just how much sun your hydrangea gets, it's when it gets it. Most gardening guides will tell you that hydrangeas need about 6 hours of sunlight a day. While that's true, there's an important detail they often leave out. The time of day those 6 hours happen can make a huge difference in how quickly your hydrangea grows and how well it flowers. Here's why. In the cool hours of the morning, hydrangeas are at their most productive. Their leaves are cooler, and the tiny pores on the leaves, called stomata, are fully open. This allows the plant to absorb carbon dioxide efficiently and produce the energy it needs for strong growth. Morning sunshine also dries the overnight dew from the leaves. That simple benefit helps reduce fungal diseases, keeping the foliage healthy so the plant can continue producing the energy needed for bigger stems and larger blooms. Afternoon sun tells a very different story. Once the hottest part of the day arrives, the plant begins protecting itself from heat and water loss. Those same tiny pores start to close, slowing down photosynthesis. Even though the plant is sitting in bright sunshine, it isn't growing nearly as efficiently. Instead of using that light to build new growth, it's focused on surviving the heat. That's one reason 2 hydrangeas can perform so differently. The healthiest, fastest-growing plants usually receive gentle morning sun from an east or northeast-facing location, followed by shade or filtered light during the hottest hours of the afternoon. They get the energy they need without the stress. Plants growing in a west-facing spot often experience the opposite. They receive intense afternoon heat, which can leave them struggling instead of thriving. If your hydrangea is already established in a west-facing location, don't worry. Moving a mature hydrangea can be stressful and isn't always the best option. Instead, try reducing the late-day heat. A tall ornamental grass, a trellis covered with a fast-growing vine, or even another garden feature placed on the western side can provide valuable afternoon shade. By blocking the harshest sunlight while leaving the roots undisturbed, you'll create a much more comfortable growing environment for your hydrangea. Trick 2. Water the roots deeply, then lock that moisture in with mulch. Hydrangeas have one challenge that catches many gardeners by surprise. Their leaves are much larger than those of most garden plants, which means they lose water very quickly during warm weather. On hot days, the leaves can be losing moisture faster than the roots can replace it. That's why a hydrangea may start to droop or look stressed even when the soil still feels damp. The plant simply can't move water to the leaves fast enough. The solution isn't watering every day. Instead, focus on watering deeply. A slow, thorough soak once or twice a week encourages the roots to grow deeper into the soil, where moisture stays cooler and lasts much longer. Over time, those deeper roots help the plant cope far better with heat, dry spells, and changing weather. Plants that receive only light, frequent watering often develop shallow roots. Those roots dry out quickly, leaving the hydrangea struggling whenever temperatures rise. Mulch is the second half of this trick. After watering, spread about 3 inches of organic mulch around the root zone. Mulch acts like a protective blanket, helping the soil hold onto moisture for much longer while keeping the roots cooler during hot afternoons. That extra moisture can make a noticeable difference in how consistently your hydrangea grows throughout the season. Instead of repeatedly slowing down because of water stress, the plant can continue putting its energy into healthy stems and larger blooms. Just remember one important detail. Never pile mulch directly against the base of the plant. Leave a gap of about 2 inches around the main stems. Keeping the crown exposed allows good air circulation and helps prevent rot, one of the most common problems caused by excessive moisture around the base of hydrangeas. Trick 3. Feed for flowers at the right time, not just for green leaves. Many gardeners make the same mistake when feeding hydrangeas. They choose a fertilizer that's high in nitrogen because it produces lots of fresh green leaves. At first, the plant looks healthy and vigorous, so it seems like the right choice. But there's a downside. Too much nitrogen throughout the growing season encourages your hydrangea to put most of its energy into growing leaves and stems instead of producing flowers. That's why some hydrangeas become large, leafy shrubs but end up with only a few small blooms. The secret is giving the plant the nutrients it needs at the right time. In early spring, as your hydrangea begins waking up from winter dormancy, apply a balanced fertilizer to support healthy new growth. This helps the plant build strong roots and sturdy stems as the season begins. Then, several weeks before blooming starts, switch to a fertilizer that's higher in phosphorus. Phosphorus plays a key role in root development and flower production. By increasing phosphorus before bloom time, you're encouraging the plant to direct more of its energy toward producing larger, fuller flower heads instead of endless leafy growth. Timing is just as important as the fertilizer itself. Once you reach midsummer, stop feeding your hydrangea. Late-season fertilizer encourages soft new growth that doesn't have enough time to mature before cooler weather arrives. That tender growth is much more likely to be damaged by frost, and on varieties that bloom on old wood, it can even reduce next year's flowers. One final tip. Always follow the instructions on your fertilizer package, and if your hydrangea is only a year or two old, consider using about half the recommended strength when applying a phosphorus-rich fertilizer. Young root systems are more sensitive, and a lighter feeding is usually all they need to establish healthy, long-lasting growth. Trick 4. Don't be afraid of a hard prune if you have the right hydrangea. This is the tip that surprises the most gardeners. At first glance, it seems completely wrong. Cutting back a healthy hydrangea can feel like you're ruining all the progress it made the previous year. But for certain varieties, it's one of the best things you can do. If you grow panicle hydrangeas, such as Limelight, Pinky Winky, or Quick Fire, or smooth hydrangeas like Annabelle and Incredible, a hard prune in late winter can lead to stronger growth and much larger flower heads. While the plant is still dormant, usually in late February or early March, cut it back to about 12 to 18 inches above the ground. Why does this work? These hydrangeas bloom on new wood, meaning they produce flowers on the fresh growth that appears each spring. If all of last year's stems are left in place, the plant spreads its stored energy across many growing points. The result is lots of thin stems, smaller blooms, and branches that often bend under the weight of the flowers. A hard prune changes that. Instead of feeding dozens of old stems, the plant concentrates its energy into fewer new shoots. Those shoots grow thicker, stronger, and much faster, producing sturdier stems that can support impressively large flower heads. You may notice fewer stems overall, but each one is far more vigorous. The blooms are often dramatically larger, and the plant develops a stronger, more balanced shape. However, there's one very important exception. Do not use this pruning method on every hydrangea. Big leaf hydrangeas, the familiar pink and blue mophead varieties, and oakleaf hydrangeas bloom on old wood. Their flower buds were formed the previous season, so cutting those stems back in late winter removes this year's blooms before they ever have a chance to open. If you're not sure which type you have, take a little time to identify it before pruning. Knowing whether your hydrangea flowers on old wood or new wood can make all the difference between a season filled with blooms and one with none at all. But if you have a panicle or smooth hydrangea, don't be afraid of a hard late winter prune. It may look drastic for a few weeks, but once spring arrives, the results often speak for themselves. Trick 5. Check your soil pH. It affects both growth and flower color. Most gardeners know that soil pH can change the color of certain hydrangea flowers. What many people don't realize is that it also affects how well the plant grows. The reason is simple. Soil pH determines how easily your hydrangea can absorb important nutrients. When the pH is in the right range, the roots can take up the minerals they need for healthy growth. When it's too high or too low, some of those nutrients become much harder for the plant to access, even if they're already present in the soil. For big leaf hydrangeas, soil pH also influences flower color. In more acidic soil, aluminum becomes available to the plant, which encourages blue blooms. In more alkaline soil, aluminum is less available, resulting in pink flowers. But aluminum isn't the only nutrient affected. As the soil becomes more alkaline, Other essential nutrients, such as iron and manganese, also become harder for the roots to absorb. Over time, that can slow growth, reduce plant vigor, and limit flowering. The best way to know what's happening in your garden is to test your soil pH. A simple home test kit can give you results in just a few minutes and takes the guesswork out of caring for your hydrangeas. 4 big-leaf hydrangeas. A pH of around 5.5 to 6.0 encourages blue flowers while also providing excellent nutrient availability. If you prefer pink blooms, aim for a slightly higher pH of about 6.5 to 7.0. 4 panicle and smooth hydrangeas. Flower color isn't affected by soil pH in the same way. However, these varieties generally perform best in slightly acidic soil, around 6.0 to 6.5, where nutrients remain readily available. If your soil is too alkaline and you need to lower the pH, elemental sulfur is a common long-term solution. Some gardeners also use aluminum sulfate for a quicker adjustment when growing blue-flowering varieties. If you want to raise the pH to encourage pink flowers, garden lime is commonly used according to the directions on the package. One last thing to remember, soil pH isn't permanent. Rainfall, watering, and the natural breakdown of organic matter can gradually change it over time. That's why it's a good idea to test your soil at least once each growing season. Small adjustments made regularly are far more effective than waiting until problems appear. Healthy soil creates healthy hydrangeas, and maintaining the right pH gives your plants the best chance to grow vigorously and produce beautiful blooms year after year. Trick 6. Give your hydrangea a magnesium boost in spring. This is one of the easiest and most affordable tricks on the list, yet it's also one that many experienced gardeners swear by. If you've ever noticed the older leaves on your hydrangea turning yellow while the veins remain green, the problem may not be disease at all. It could be a magnesium deficiency. Magnesium is an essential nutrient because it's a key part of chlorophyll, the green pigment that allows plants to capture sunlight and turn it into energy through photosynthesis. When magnesium levels are too low, your hydrangea can't produce energy as efficiently. Growth slows down, flowering may be reduced, and the plant has a harder time recovering from heat, drought, or other stresses. The good news is that this problem is often easy to correct. A simple way to add magnesium is by using Epsom salt, which is made of magnesium sulfate and is widely available at pharmacies and garden centers. Mix 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt with 1 gallon of water, then apply the solution to the soil around the plant in early spring. A second application in early summer can help support healthy growth through the season. Some gardeners also use a weaker solution as a foliar spray, allowing the leaves to absorb magnesium directly. When magnesium is truly lacking, you may begin to notice healthier, greener foliage within a week or two. New growth often appears stronger, richer in color, and more vigorous. It's important to remember that Epsom salt isn't a cure-all. If your soil already contains enough magnesium, adding more won't necessarily improve your hydrangea's performance. But if a deficiency is limiting your plant's growth, this simple treatment can make a noticeable difference. Sometimes it's the smallest adjustments that help a healthy hydrangea become an exceptional one. Trick 7. Use a living mulch to create a healthier growing environment. The final trick isn't just about caring for your hydrangea, it's about creating the right conditions so the plant can thrive with less effort over time. Many gardeners leave the soil around their hydrangeas completely bare or rely only on traditional mulch. While mulch certainly helps, there's another approach that can provide even more long-term benefits. It's called living mulch. Instead of leaving empty soil around the base of your hydrangea, plant a ring of low-growing companion plants around the outer root zone. Good choices include hardy geraniums, hostas, coral bells, or ajaga. These plants stay relatively low, look attractive, and work together with your hydrangea rather than competing against it. As they grow, they naturally shade the soil, helping it stay cooler during hot weather and reducing moisture loss between waterings. Their roots also help improve soil structure, making the ground less likely to become compacted. Healthier soil allows water and air to reach the hydrangea's roots more easily. Over time, as these companion plants grow and naturally shed leaves and roots, they add organic matter back into the soil. This supports beneficial soil organisms that help create a healthier environment for your hydrangea's root system. The result is a plant that experiences fewer periods of stress and more consistent growth throughout the season. When choosing companion plants, look for varieties that stay under about 12 inches tall and don't spread aggressively. The goal is to support your hydrangea, not compete with it for water and nutrients. It's also important to leave 6 to 8 inches of open space around the main stems. That gap allows good air circulation, helping keep the crown dry and reducing the risk of disease. Think of living mulch as more than just a decorative border. It's a simple way to build a healthier garden ecosystem, one that helps your hydrangea grow stronger, stay healthier, and reward you with beautiful blooms year after year. Now, think back to those 2 hydrangeas we talked about at the beginning. One grew into a strong, full shrub covered with enormous blooms. The other remained smaller, weaker, and struggled to put on much of a display, even though they started under almost identical conditions. The difference wasn't luck. It wasn't because one plant was somehow better than the other. It came down to a handful of simple decisions made throughout the growing season. The thriving hydrangea received gentle morning sunlight instead of intense afternoon heat. It was watered deeply, and mulch helped keep the soil evenly moist. It was fed at the right times with the nutrients it needed most. It was pruned correctly for its variety, allowing the plant to put its energy into strong new growth. Its soil pH was kept in the right range so essential nutrients stayed available. A spring magnesium boost helped support healthy green leaves and efficient growth. And companion plants around the base created a cooler, healthier root environment that worked naturally all season long. None of these steps are difficult on their own. But together, they can completely change the way a hydrangea grows and flowers. Even if you don't try all 7, putting just 4 or 5 of these techniques into practice can make a noticeable difference before this growing season is over. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 7 tips are you planning to try first? Let me know in the comments. I read every one, and your questions often inspire future videos. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next gardening video. We share practical, easy-to-follow tips to help you grow healthier plants and enjoy more beautiful blooms all season long. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video in 2 days.